Hey folks, Fernando doing our video for the More Survivalists and continuing with a slap that was heard around the world, as some people joke about, with Will Smith slapping Chris Rock. It sounds like nonsense, like, a minor thing. And yeah, it is a guy being slapped, right? Of course, it is during the Oscars. Doesn't seem like much of a big deal. A lot worse things happen around the world every single second. We can agree on that, of course. Yes, of course we can. That's one of the things we can all agree, right, with. Now, it is still interesting to notice how people respond to this, because that says a lot about the world we're living in right now, how people perceive things, and you need to understand this so as to be prepared for what's coming, for what's already happening right now. When you see how people react to this, as minor as it may be, sometimes there's things that are, nothing, but the way people respond to them says a lot of those particular people and as a whole, as a society, especially when you have something like this where everyone has an opinion because it reached millions and millions of people. Apart from the crappy Oscars that no one gives a damn about. Of course, this made it a lot more visible. No, this is not going to be changing the fact that the Oscars still suck. And it's all nonsense, right? Some people think this was staged. This was not staged. No one does this on purpose to themselves. I'm talking about Chris Rock. Chris Rock, if someone had approached him of, hey, would you be okay we slap you as hard as we can across the face and make a joke out of you and your career and humiliate you publicly in front of millions? Chris Rock would have said, you know what, thanks, but no, Chris Rock has already been in the Oscars and did a decent, I like Chris Rock, he has a great segment about how to not get shot by police. Look it up, and it's one of the most politically incorrect, especially coming from a black guy in this environment that we are right now. The amount of common sense in that little video of his and how funny it is, personally, I like Chris Rock more than Will Smith, even before this. But the way people react to this is not... Let's see some of the reactions. I have here... this is from Jim Carrey, which, controversial guy, yes or no, that's up to you. But what he says is this.
Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
There was some question today about if anyone else had walked from the audience and done that, they would have been escorted out by security or maybe even arrested. The police asked Chris if he wanted to file charges. They asked Chris, do you want to file charges? And Chris apparently said no, he did not.
He doesn't want the hassle. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous.
Oh, he's overreacting? No, he's not. He's actually right. It's a public figure. It's a extremely famous comedian who was publicly humiliated and hit, assaulted, legally assaulted. You may, it's just a slap. Still constitutes assault without any question, without any doubt. Even spitting someone is considered assault. Slapping them across the face as hard as you can, which is what obviously Will Smith tried to do there in spite of failing at achieving anything of notice. But that's what he did. That's what he did. And he did not only not pay any price for that, he was not arrested as you or I would be if we did anything like that, especially in front of millions. He was just applauded, standing ovation, when nothing happened, no consequence, no legal consequence, at least not so far. And even Chris Rock just plays along that I'm not going to be making this even more a big deal than it already is, and I'm just letting it go. This is a kind of thing where you have a protected segment of society. It's not just a protected segment of society because this is not just Will Smith. This is the same logic applied with if we have racism in our country, then it is okay to burn down cities. That's the logic behind this. Is the same logic that says that BLM has a moral right to torch cities and murder, literally murder, hundreds of people throughout the last couple of years or so. That's okay because they are right to be outraged. And Will Smith has a right to be outraged because his wife is 50 years old. This alopecia bullshit. Alopecia is just being bald. balding. And if you see the images, she's barely has any balding spots at all. It's more of a aesthetic decision of hers, but she's not having some horrible crippling disease like it's sometimes tried to portray. Not at all. That woman has a full-grown damn head of hair. She's just shaving it. And she probably has a few patches like most women her age have. That is not an excuse. And the man is a comedian doing his job at the Oscars, doing jokes with people that are supposed to be celebrities used to doing this sort of thing in this sort of events. There's no justification of any kind for the assault that Will Smith was allowed to get away with. Then dancing it the night off, and that's all fine. But it's the same kind of hypocrisy that has landed, I would say, liberals in general, but this is very much an American thing. This thing about a guy just, hitting someone and having no repercussions, this is the kind of thing I haven't seen, especially at this stage where, everyone just goes along as if nothing. It is insanity. A man was just, assaulted in the middle of an event and people just play along. Let's take something else here. This is from Jocko Willink, which, again, a guy that I share a lot of his opinions. I like what he has to say. This is what he has to say about this.
But here's the thing. My first reaction, honestly, when I saw this happen, I was, thought to myself, hey, that's what happens. You talk smack. If you talk smack, occasionally you're going to get smacked, right? That's what happens. And the reason I feel I didn't think much about it. I was like, oh, he's got smacked.
Just let's clarify. This is not just a guy talking smack. This is a comedian doing his job in the damn Oscars. But, let's go on.
Chuckle, whatever. But then everyone started getting, hype about it, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you're in a SEAL platoon, occasionally...
I like Jocko Willink. This is not a SEAL platoon. This is a freaking Oscars full of a bunch of multi-millionaire actors. I know that he looks through all of this through his own lens. And yeah, sure, but this is not a SEAL platoon. This is guys at the Oscars having a laugh, and there's a comedian having been paid to do the joking part, and there's supposedly to be grown-ass men sitting there, multi-millionaires, that should be able to take this slight... Will Smith's wife, Jada Smith, has more hair than Jocko right here. Just look at the images. It's very visible that she has a lot of hair. Anyway, this is one of the things where it's not that much of a big... It's just a slap. Legally speaking, it is still assault. It is still assault, even though I've seen so much worse things. Of course, sure, yes, and horrible, much worse things happen. This is nothing in comparison. But it doesn't erase the fact that this is a man being assaulted in the middle of his job as a comedian. Now, there's another one they want to share with. This is from Ben Shapiro.
This is the way the left thinks now, which is that if I'm offended, I do get to smack you upside
the
head.
Right.
The only question is whether he's justified in smacking Chris Rock upside the head. But it was definitely a weird moment. And remember, these are all the people you should listen to. These are the people who, when they chant gay, you should probably let your kids be educated by them. They should set the standards for how you educate your kindergartner. They literally can't keep other men's hands off their wife or their hands off other men who make fun of their wives, but they should definitely educate your kids. Very, very important.
This is the reason why I ended up doing this video, because he's absolutely right about this is setting a standard of conduct. This is setting a standard of, yes, it is. Even though it sounds stupid, Will Smith said, yes, this is setting a standard of what's acceptable and what's not, what is okay and what's not. You're enabling a spoiled grown man into beating or hitting a guy just because he said something he did not like. And he was absolutely entitled and had the absolute right to say what he was saying because he was making jokes. He was hired to do those jokes. So there's the only reasonable thing that should have happened here was someone should have approached Will Smith. Sir, please come with me. He should have been escorted out of those premises, and the sane, logical, not crazy, not violent people go on with their lives. That's what should have happened, and it's not what happened in this incident. And it's stupid, it's silly, it's nothing, yes, but it's setting the standard by which you will have to live with. Now, if your kid or yourself, you get punched, hit, attacked, or beaten to death because you just said something I did not like. This has allowed that morally in your society. This is very much an American thing. Don't get it wrong. This kind of thing at this level, I haven't seen it elsewhere. Let me know if you've seen something similar elsewhere with this kind of approval, overwhelming approval. He should have been escorted out. He probably should have been arrested for what he did because he hit him pretty hard. And that's actually not legal. You cannot just go around hitting people just because you feel like it. And Chris Rock should have pressed charges. And, I would have loved if Chris Rock had said, I have nothing against Will Smith. He's a good friend. But what he did was wrong, and we have to do the right thing. The right thing is, like Jim Carrey said, sue him for $100 million or 200 or whatever. Set an example of what's right and what's wrong. Set it for yourself. Set it for your kids, for the people around you. No, you go through the rule of law that we have that is supposed to allow us to live like civilized people. The rule of law should be applied, especially when it's something like this where you have the option of using it, right? You have the option of doing the right thing. But no, we'll just, women being abused, let's talk about that 20 years later when the decadent old pervert is no longer as powerful as he used to be. Then then women will have their time 20 years later, right? Not when he's actually raping women or when this is even happening right now. But you know what? People like Will Smith, if Will Smith gets away with this in front of national television, imagine the kind of thing that people like Will Smith or Will Smith himself gets away with all the time, right? Ari Weinstein, sure, yeah, when you're a old, rotting man, sure, that's when they come after you. When you're on top, that's okay, that's perfectly fine. And as usual, it was Joe Rogan who had the more common sense of all of this. Now he's talking with Josh Barnett, MMA guy that is a man used to violence. And, he has maybe he's not as good with words as Joe Rogan is. He makes a case of, well, this is, just like Jocko. But he watched the video, the entire clip, but he makes the case of he was himself in a position where someone was offending his girlfriend at a time. And he admits it himself. He just went and said, dude, you keep on going about this. It already made her upset previously. Please, could you stop? This is what he says himself. An MMA guy that's used to beating the crap out of people for a living. But anyway, this is what Joe says.
Give them an opportunity to apologize for things, especially if they didn't realize that what they were doing was
I hear all the things you're saying, but they're not applicable. That was not an insult. It was the most mild joke about her hairstyle.
I fully
in reference
get it.
to a movie where a lady shaved her head.
I fully get it. But
like
I'm
the idea
just simply
that there's
saying
any justification whatsoever of him getting up there and smacking him in the face like
he didn't.
that.
He didn't need to go up there and smack him at all.
No.
But regardless of what you and I think of how important or how.
Anyway, this goes on for a while, but Joe Rogan makes it that they're very. He's a comedian himself. He has stood there in front of an audience getting heckled or whatnot, or maybe some insults thrown. So he knows, and he knows how dangerous it is to allow, to socially, morally allow someone that doesn't like what you said just go and hit you in the face, right? It is super dangerous to make that okay. Why not shoot him? I mean, I'm very offended. I'm going to be stabbing that bastard. I'm going to be shooting that guy. I'm going to be torching an entire city because racism. That's how you end up this way, by allowing these sort of things time and again. I'm outraged. I'm angry. I don't like what you say, so I use violence against you. It is super dangerous to make these things okay, and it's happening right now. And you should be aware of it because it's going to be impacting you, either you realize it or not. Anyway, folks, prepare for what's coming. Get ready. If you haven't got ready yet, there's still time. Use the channel. It's full of videos. Use my books. You have those available in Amazon as well. Street Survival Skills, Modern Survival Manual. By the way, if you drop a couple reviews in Amazon for this one, very close to 1,000. Hugely appreciate it if you take a couple minutes, if you read it already and liked it. Guys, it's going to be all for now. It is silly, it is nothing, but it's also a big deal if you look at the social context in which we are. Making these things okay just sets a horrible, horrible precedent, so don't be surprised if this just continues to become more and more common, more and more normal, more and more accepted. Take care, guys.